Yeah. I don't know why I got the giggles there.
Oh, under pressure.
Welcome to this week's episode of Entrepreneurial Artist. I'm Chris Mercer and I'm with my co-host, Kat Machin. This week, Kat, we're talking about building a community, building your audience, which I know is one of your favorite topics. So building a community and an audience, like we need to have our community, our followers, because otherwise we're just not going to get anything out there. We're going to be painting away and nobody knows that we're there and we're creating these amazing works of art that we're making. And also it's fun, isn't it? It's fun to have a community, and you take people on the journey with you as well, don't you, Kat?
Oh, I love it. And I think also, and you touched on a really important point, right? There's a point, you do all this really hard work and you've built a mission and you've built a purpose and then no one knows about it. And I think that's a real crying shame. Now, of course, like, to play devil's advocate, of course, not everyone is making art for that purpose, right? They're just maybe making it for themselves. And in which case, and that's A-okay. Nothing wrong with that either. However, if you are interested in the entrepreneurial side of things and you really want to get your message out there, and to be honest, even if it's even if it's just a bit of a bizarre message or like just something interesting or curious. Like, I watched this artist who was super into cracks in the pavement and all her paintings are out cracks in the pavement. She loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it is that you want to, build a community around, don't feel like...
If you can do it around that, Kat, I think you might be able to do it. I think it must be more interesting than you make it out.
No, it really was. It was just it was cracks. She was fascinated by cracks in pavements, cracks in pottery, and all this kind of stuff. Cracks in walls. She did the tour de crack.
Always got a sense of humor.
Well, she's a really serious artist, right? And she did all the Venice Biennale and stuff like that. Can't remember her name. But my point is that you don't necessarily need to have what is not to be condescending, but you don't need to have a high and virtuous mission or purpose. It's just got to mean a lot to you, and that's all that matters, really.
Yeah. Okay, I love that.
So
and you've got quite a few followers, and like now, but it's like people can be they put off, they see you think and see numbers of people who are doing really well, and it can be a bit of a put off. But you've had to start from nothing. There's at one point you didn't have anybody. So where would you say, where was your starting point with that?
So I remember 5 years ago, my Instagram had about 2,000 people on it, and now it's at 165, and it's growing. It's taken off, and you always think like, oh, how do you build anything? And it's funny because it's the same way as buildings like selling for the first time, right? Sort of friends, family, and anyone foolish enough to be within 5 feet of you. Yes. So you just start local and small with a small group. And I'm probably going to touch on this later, but the most important thing is that you start a community with one person. It's just you and one other person. And then you just expand out. And that's actually how every single there's always been a first person to every community. Now that first person might be your mom or just loves everything you do, or whomever it might be, but everyone had a first follower. Or you look at all of these massive accounts, they all had a first follower. So it's more important to understand, like, well, how do you take it from just having one person to then having 10 people to then having 20 or 100? And like, once you, and I think that part of the challenge in particular with artists, and it does change depending on platform and how you're doing it, but generally speaking, people are going to be like coming together in social media platforms, right? It might be Twitter, it might be Instagram, it might be Facebook, it might be LinkedIn even, or TikTok as well, or there's a bunch more. So what is it that attracts someone to even following you? There's like two stages really. Firstly is like discovery stage, like you've got your stuff in front of them. That might have mean that you have been shared by someone else, or it might mean that you posted something on a particular hashtag and that person would just happen to be looking at that hashtag and your artwork popped up. And so there's the discovery phase. Then there's the phase where people are making the decision to look further into what you're doing. So you can get your artwork in front of people, but if it's nothing, but if it's not necessarily, like if you've not taken the time to maybe take a good photo of it, or you've not taken the time to write something good, or you've not given it any sort of, you've just like, because I'm actually I don't necessarily believe in extreme volume as such. I'm more take your time and get it right. But to be honest, at the beginning, you don't know what you're doing. So just put out what you can. Sorry, you're going to say something?
Yeah. Do you have to understand why they're following you? Is that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think like a lot of people ask me like, how do you grow on Instagram? And I'll look at their accounts and their accounts will be all over the place. They'll have a bit of this and a bit of that. They'll have some life drawings, some pictures of flowers. They've got a portrait, and there's nothing conducive, like it just looks like a jumble sale. And
so when people on there, they don't know what that person is. Is that what you?
Yeah, people will follow you because they understand what you stand for, right? And it's like, and if what you stand for aligns with what they're interested in. So all my stuff is all space, everything's space. I don't deviate. Now, if you want to do deviations, that's totally fine. You just start a different account for that sort of stuff. But if you have everything, if you're just like, I'm an artist that draws with pencil and all these different things I draw with pencil, people aren't necessarily interested in the fact that you draw with pencil. Like actually, people couldn't give a rat's ass whether you paint with pencil or oil paint or digitally or whatever. What they're interested in is the subject matter. Firstly, it's visual aesthetic, but secondly, like, what does it mean? What does it stand for? So it's like, fine, like if you showed someone a flash of your social media accounts, it could be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but I think Instagram is probably easier to describe because it's just a panel of photos. If you flash that at someone and they couldn't instantly be like, I know what this account is about, they will not follow, not at all, not in one little scrap. They will literally be like, I don't know what this is about. It's confusing. And as soon as someone feels confused about what is this about, they will leave. So even if you get millions of people coming to your account, no one will stay because they don't know what you're about.
So is this like really important? It seems to bring it back to knowing who you are as an artist, before maybe you stick it out to the world. It's like, well, who are you and what is it that like I'd say your message, because I always feel like that's confusing again, but it's like, this is the kind of art I do, this is what I love, and it's easy, then that's easy for people to understand.
I think people want to know what they're getting. So ultimately, when you follow someone, that means that their stuff is going to start popping up in your newsfeed, right? And we have to become like, we sometimes forget, like our social medias are an extended part of our life. It's like buying a piece of furniture in a strange sort of way, right? It's like, I mean, and this probably doesn't work for everybody because not everyone likes to decorate their houses, but if you just put it as a parallel, it's like bringing something into your house, but you don't know what it is. Like it could be something that's like bright pink one day, and then it's like ultra modern the next day, and then it's a regal chair. But everything in your room is doing that, and it's all fucking all over the place. Whereas it's like overwhelming, because the way that people's news feeds are, that is actually a big portion of our actual lives, our digital lives, where we go to regularly. So we try to curate our spaces. A better way of describing it is it's like inviting a friend who is a total shapeshifter. Like one day they could be Jekyll and the next day they could be Hyde. And you're trying to protect your space. You're trying to, you put the friends in place that you have because they make you feel good. You have some sort of level of like where you connect, you have maybe similar interests, you have some similar stories or whatever that is. So you don't necessarily want to start bringing in vagrants, waifs and strays into your group where what they're flipping out all the time. And one day they get something, next something the next. Yeah. Like it becomes overwhelming for your space. So, you know, you think about people's news feeds like they're part of their lives. People want to curate their lives. Like they want to remove things that necessarily, you know, they don't love or doesn't give them joy. And that doesn't mean the artwork is bad. Yeah. It's just that, you know, sometimes, you know, we've all had it. You know, sometimes I look at a piece of artwork and it doesn't spark joy in me. And sometimes I look at artwork and it really sparks joy in me. And it's just a personal preference. But if I am bringing something into my life that's going to be like, because ultimately we are bombarded all the time with like media, news, adverts, all the stuff. Like that's enough in itself, without having to have a lot of random stuff just being chucked up into our newsfeed by, you know, people that we don't really have a deep connection to or anything like that. Yeah. If that person that we don't have a deep connection to is just consistently bringing in the media that we love and that brings us joy, we want it there, absolutely. So if you think about it, like
as you're talking there, I'm feeling like a lot of even trust is coming up, because if you're throwing things at me randomly, then it's like you're losing the trust, because I don't have certainty anymore. You know, it all sounds a bit weird because you're just talking social media and scrolling, but it's still all to do with those kind of things, isn't it? That, you know, it's too random, it's too bizarre. We like to know what we're getting, don't we?
Right, absolutely. You would like some consistency. Now, if you're into the random and the bizarre and it's an account that does weird and wacky randomy stuff and you love that, great. But it's like it'll be consistently random and it'll be consistently what you enjoy consuming, versus like just being like super scattered. So yeah, I think the idea of creating something that people can count on you for delivering the content that they want to see. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. That person will go and find someone else that does. Yeah. And so firstly, no, it's not about always being exactly the same and never trying new things. But I would suggest that if it is like way off track, that maybe you create a separate space for that. And that's A-okay, and it can exist in its own thing. But it's very hard, you know. I mean, if you were in an account that was like, it's a motivational quotes account, but then all of a sudden you pick up farm photography and you just take photos of tractors, people are just going to be like, what the heck? You know, what's this crap? It's not what I'm interested in. Yeah. So firstly is like having some sort of consistency that people will like, and consistency with your message and your purpose, which, you know, the thing that really drives you to create artwork, whatever that is, shouldn't necessarily just be like, I just want to create. And I know that a lot of artists are in that stage. They don't know what they stand for. They just want to make. So it's like not just find what you stand for, but find what not just what you want to make, but what you stand for, and put those messages out there consistently and passionately. Love that.
I'll just talk for a little minute about, because yours is slightly easy topic because yours space. So all your pictures are space. But like for me, all my pictures are not, my pictures are not the same. Art's not the same, but probably nature with the oceans and the trees and the birds. But my consistency is my style. So if you look, so that's, even though you don't have the same images, it will be a consistency where someone will look at my feed and it's like when you do an exhibition, maybe people can see that it's the same artist. So you don't go and look at my feed, you'll see different images on different subject matters, but you can see that it's by the same artist because of the texture, the colors. You can just tell it's mine. So that's sort of what we mean as well by keeping the theme to it.
Yeah, because like here's the thing, like not everything that I do is a picture space. Well, I mean, so sometimes it'll be like a night photography, sometimes it'll be like a landscape with stars, sometimes it'll be deep space, sometimes it'll just be like something else but space related, that's not necessarily even artwork. But I recognize that the people that follow me are into space, whereas for you, Chris, I'd say the people that follow you are into creating joyful living spaces. And seeing those joyful images, and that's how you keep your consistency. Also, like, the way that you do color is very unique to you, I would say. And it's fabulous, and you can just tell by the colors that you pick. Because you've just got a thing.
I've got my thing.
You've got your thing, and that's good. It takes a while to get your thing, and that's okay if you're still experimenting as well, because I don't know, how long did it take you to get your thing, Chris?
I suppose maybe even about 5 or 6 years of like constantly daily painting. I've been painting for a long time, and that was just learning experiences and growing my knowledge, really. But then it was the point that I got to where I want to find my style. I want to find what's me, because my paintings were like everybody else's. They were good paintings, but they weren't feeling like they were my paintings. So I'd say every day for probably 5 years. So a while.
So I feel like if everyone doesn't have their like definitive style nailed yet, it's okay. You can still experiment and try and discover yourself. But at some point, like, if you're thinking, why am I not building a community? That actually might be the reason why, is that people are coming and they don't understand what you're standing for or what you're about, or, there's no trust, as you said, that if they follow you, they're going to get the content that they love to see. And are you going to say something? Something else that someone said to me, really important. This is a very, very high-end art dealer, ran a massive art dealing business over in London. And he said, Kat, obviously the images are important, but what is also even more important for me as a serious art collector and an art buyer and art distributor is the story that goes behind the artwork. He said, it's almost as important as the artwork itself, especially when you get into the high-end market, because art is about creating or communicating a message, a story, or an emotion. And people aren't necessarily buying a wall decoration. They're buying some emotional response, whatever that might be. It might be joy or anger or disgust or awe. It might be surprise. It might be, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So it's like finding a way to take your purpose and your mission and actually put that into your artwork, so that your art becomes, start to paint about what it is that you're passionate about. And in so when you talk about, because here's the thing, like, I think it's a little off-putting when people just talk specifically about their art technique. Nothing wrong, especially if you're tutoring someone, that's fine. But like, no one cares that you use particular techniques to create something. They might want to know that there's good quality materials gone into your artwork if they're looking a very long into like investment, sure. But generally speaking, no one gives a rat's ass. What they do care about is, what does the artwork mean? And I think that when you start talking super passionately about what it stands for, why you as an artist would stand in one bloody place and paint the same bloody picture for several hundred hours, why would you do that? If you can talk with great passion about what you do, then people that vibe with that sentiment will find you eventually. Like, it's just phenomenal. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, you've had great success doing that and you've, even of late, because there's a lot of people who got onto Instagram early, and that's what made them, because they were there early enough and had all the followers and all that. But it's only the last little while that you've decided to take on Twitter and TikTok, and still with them, you've grown them quite quickly, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of different things you need to be doing, right? Firstly, you got to understand the nuance of every platform, right? So Gary Vee talks about this. It's called the 10-10 rule. I love it. Spend 10 hours using a platform and create 10 pieces of content, and you'll truly understand how that platform works. However, I would like to add a caveat to that, which he doesn't talk about, which is to do it consciously. So when you are on Twitter and you're scrolling, you figure out, why is it you stopped at this tweet? Why did you scroll past this tweet? Same for TikTok. Why did you watch that video? Why after 3 seconds did you go, nah? Why did you go, oh, I want to watch this? Why did you go straight to the comments and see what's going on, right? Be super conscious of the step-by-step actions that you're doing. Be aware of, like, when you're going, oh, this is what I'm into. Why is it what I'm into? Why did I scroll past this video and not this video? What was it that kept me going? What was it that made me give up? When you start to apply that level of consciousness to using social media, like, I don't ever use social media like blah, blah, blah. I never just scroll. Like, I'm always just like, why am I scrolling? Why am I clicking this? What does this do? I wonder, how does this make me feel? Why did I feel like this? I try and like break it, pull it apart so that you can apply that same thing, because use that understanding to create your content. So what you need to be doing is going, oh, like, I used to do loads and loads and loads of stories, right, in Instagram. And then I came across another account that also did loads of stories. And I went, oh God, this is exhausting. So I've stopped doing so many stories. I might do 5 or 6, but I used to do like 20 or 30 a day. Right? It's a bloody lot.
That's a lot, yeah. And this comes back to, again, doesn't it? Like the avatar, and we talked about avatar in previous ones, like your own avatar, you are and I am. So it's like, if it bores you or makes you feel exhausting, your audience is going to feel the same.
Yeah. And I think we don't necessarily get perfect insight to how other people use social media. And of course, everyone has their biases and everything, but at least the bare minimum you can do is start with your own awareness and your own experience to try and understand and pick apart what it is. Like, even asking the question, like, why is Facebook showing me this post? Like, what in the algorithm has made it want to show me this? Why? Because, like, we don't get to see everything. Got to be honest. Like, there's a good 1.5.
Isn't it?
Oh, if that. I would say that out of maybe I've managed to calm my friends down, like, from 5,000 to probably 2 now, I think, and trying to snip it back, right? Just people that I actually know, rather than just someone I met once in a night out in a club when I was drunk. We stayed friends for life on Facebook. You don't get to see their content.
Yeah.
But why? So it's because there's no level of interaction. So have a curious thought and think about, right, okay, well, if I did want to interact with these people, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had this scenario. We've not seen anyone on Facebook for ages, and then all of a sudden you get a DM and you say, hi, how's you going? Whatever. It might be something random. And then all of a sudden their content starts showing in your feed. Right?
Surprise me. Yeah.
Right. So be conscious and aware of all those little nuances. They change frequently. So you have to be on top of this all the time. So firstly, understand the platform, consciously use it, and then use that understanding to put stuff in place. Right. And I think one of the guiltiest things that we all do, and I kind of do this as well, is that I only produce content I never consume. And the problem is that it's not that it's bad it's good for your mental health, I would say. But as far as learning and really keeping your pulse on trends and like how things are working, you are at a disadvantage if you don't use Facebook. Trying to make a Facebook post that really lands for people that use Facebook is going to be a challenge. And that's so it's a give and take, because also, and I think also there's another thing where people are like, you have every single platform. Well, I would say try every single platform, but then find the one that you're really comfortable with, and then just redistribute from there. Use like if this then that, or Zapier, or another platform that will take your content that you post and will just redistribute it everywhere. That is so much easier, oh my gosh, than having to deal and manage all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but if you're not up on your tech, you can just download it to your phone. You did a TikTok video, download that, and then share it amongst all the other things.
Sorry, Chris.
What's happened?
All of my notifications are going off. Sorry.
Oh, you can't hear anything.
Oh, really?
No.
Just me. I'll mute it all. There you go.
Yeah.
Right, just leave it silent for a minute so you know where the edit is. And we're back.
So
silent, that's good for editing, isn't it? So the other thing is that building an audience is hard, right? So in the sense of getting in front of people, like, where do you find them? Well, conveniently, there are other people that have the audience that you need. And it is all about collaboration. Collaboration is the number one way to grow as an artist. Now, you don't necessarily have to collaborate with other artists if you are in a competing space, although I would suggest that those that do learn to collaborate will far outpace anyone that doesn't. However, trying to find someone else with that like-minded, thought process might not be as straightforward or easy. But as an example, let's say that your close friends, and start by sharing stuff on your personal Facebook, right? And with the people that are your friends. And let's say, hypothetically, you're starting with 20 people on your Facebook, right? And that's where you're starting. That is your community. So engaging them, and not just like showing, like, not literally just like piece of artwork, 12 by 12 inches, gouache, Untitled 2022 or whatever, like, no one cares. Instead be like, I did this painting and this is what it means and this is why I'm so passionate, and whatever, talk about it. Obviously use paragraphs, break it down so it's easy to read. Like, the copywriting aspect of it can't be understated, and there's many a good video on YouTube if you need to learn. But get people involved and excited, right? Really simple. And you just have to be involved and excited yourself. Like, if you produce artwork and you're very like about it, you cannot expect anyone else to be excited about your artwork. Like, no one in their right mind is going to be like, it's amazing, when you're just like,
So I suppose that's another aspect of it, learning to actually be okay with sharing your excitement with people about what you're doing.
Yes. I know it's a challenge, isn't it?
Sometimes. It can be, can't it? Because people aren't brought up to be like, hey, I'm wonderful, check this out.
Look at me. I watched this really amazing YouTube video, as I watched many, but it was by this lady called Psych IRL, right? She's a psychiatrist, and she was talking about this concept of outliers, where when you do something that deviation, when you do something like the behavior that's slightly different from like everyone around you, there's a bit of look at that person, they're full of themselves. But it's not because there's anything that you're doing is wrong. It's just because it's a deviant behavior. But you just have to, I think also it does help if you surround yourself with people who are going to be supporting you. And the funny thing is, right, is that you don't necessarily even need to start like your community in the public sphere. Like, sometimes you can build your community by having a chat with someone on the phone and talking about it, like a friend, or like sending a DM and like just sharing something that you're doing, just having a bit of back and forth. I mean, I think this is the thing that most people forget about social media, right? Is the word social. You got to be social. Like, it's not, even though sometimes we think, it's anti-social media, it is social media. So the people that grow are the people that can be social on a platform. Makes sense, right? So you start by building some level of excitement, and then you move it over to a page, right? And build your level of excitement there. But the key is collaboration. Collaborate. I can't even stress that enough. If there's someone else in a similar field from you, let's say, for instance, you happen to be an artist that draws flowers, hypothetically, go and partner with someone that's a botanist. Go and partner with someone that does like, I don't know, like, let's say you do flowers and they're very feminine. So go partner with someone that does like natural, like bath spa stuff, right? And it might be something that they want to either share with their audience because it's a beautiful thing and maybe it like vibes with their audience. Or if it's a botanist, maybe you're like drawing specific types of flowers, and maybe you can be, you know, like work with people that do like gardening magazines or like gardening related stuff. So like find all the different like offshoots and start partnering like crazy. Say, hey, look,
there's no harm in asking, is there really, you know?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And you can start by doing different things. Like you can do a giveaway. I've just run one as well. Hey, you're on a big Instagram account. I'm a big Instagram account. Let's give away a print between our audiences. And then let's get some cross-pollination. Actually, that's quite funny. We talked about flowers and cross-pollination, but that's what it's actually called. But you know, like for instance, if you were drawing birds, right, go and maybe there are pages related to like, you know, bird photographers. Like this is great with artists. Like you can find like partner, if you do landscapes, partner with someone that does landscape photography. If you do you know, birds, someone that is I can't remember the name of what they call bird for like photographers. I keep on thinking it's tweeters. I can't remember. There's a name for people. Everyone's like, the nose is probably screaming at but partner, like just and build. And the way that you do it, you don't go straight in there and be like, I want this from you, because that's not how you do it. You go in there and you follow people that you genuinely admire and you build a relationship first. And you might be thinking, well, I want action now. Well, it doesn't work like that. You have to build some momentum. So compliment them on their posts, DM them, send them nice things, share their work, support them. You know what? When you support other people, people are so into supporting you back. It's amazing. I mean, bear in mind, like if it's a ginormous account, they might not notice and don't take it personally, right? They've probably been retweeted by a bazillion people or, you know, had their post shared. But, you know, if you, let's say, have built your account and you've got 100 people, or let's say 500 people, find another account with 100 or 500 people and cross-pollinate. Say, hey, I'll shout out you to my audience. Do you want to do the same back? Build a bit of a relationship and a rapport first, or work with another account that's in a similar field but a different aspect. So it's related to birds, but it's not an artist. Or, you know, for instance, it's abstract, but it's not an artist. It's someone that does room decor. Or it's someone that makes beautiful rugs, for instance, that are abstract and kind of weird and wonderful colors. Like find those people and partner with them. And the way that you do that is just, and I mean, I would recommend systemizing it, create a spreadsheet, make sure that you're talking to the right people at the right times, and, you know, that, you can keep on track of it. So you can talk to a couple of different people at once, you know. Like my team literally reach out to thousands. I think we've done partnerships with hundreds of people and we've reached out to thousands. Obviously,
this is a long
journey.
Strategy, you know, it's not happening overnight, but
that's not all done in one day either. Thank God, because I'd need a lot bigger team. So, you know, and then what happens is some of that audience gets to see yours. You can even do, like in YouTube land, they do cameos. Like you go and do a cameo in someone else's video and they do a cameo in your video. You know, I often, whenever I travel anywhere, I look at where my favorite artists and photographers and you know, science people, I look at where they live roughly, because, you know, you can tell which city they're in, and I'll message them. And sometimes we go for lunch and then we'll do photos together and then we'll do stories together and we'll get to know each other and like, we'll have a great bloody time. And this is the best way to build lifelong friendships as well. It's amazing. And I know that is not something for COVID era, but it's something that can be done, even if it's just like a Zoom meeting or just hanging out some other way, like, and I think that the power of gifting people either your time, your knowledge, your skills, your shoulders to cry on, whatever that might be, you'll build like the most beautiful relationships, and also you will be able to boost and lift up each other in a really nice way. Like, I think it's amazing, and honestly, that's how it's worked. And the thing about building a community is that the majority of it is done through viral posts. Like, I will on average gain like every day on my Instagram, I gain 100 and lose 100, like, or like roughly, but in each post I might gain an extra couple thousand people or something, and then I might lose a couple thousand, but on average it's only ticking up very slowly. And then all of a sudden I'll have a viral post, bam, like Ian did one. He did a TikTok that went absolutely supernova. It was really cool, actually. So he did this for TikTok of him going out and shooting. My partner Ian is an astrophotographer. I think I spoke about this last week because it's just so exciting. But he shot the stars and then he made it into a little TikTok, and he was just like, hey, I'm on an adventure. This is where I slept. This is where I'm walking in the dark. And here's me setting up my equipment, and here's me taking the photograph, and here's what the photograph looked at the end. So you got to see all the journey in order to get that one image, right? And it went super viral, like crazy, absolutely off the charts. And then an account on Instagram with a big following saw it and said, wow, this is cool. Can we share this? So they shared his Instagram, his TikTok on their Instagram, and added his Instagram. He gained 12,000 followers in 24 hours. Wow. From that one post. Wow. Which is amazing. Which is like actually fully mind-blowing. And then on top of that, he got an interview. He got to do a live interview with B&H Photo. B&H Photo, for anyone that doesn't know, is the world's largest camera supplying in the world. Massive, like where most photographers buy all their equipment. Yeah. And then also Lad Bible contacted him because they wanted to share it. And the gift is like the gift still given with that one piece of content. Yeah. And it's funny because he's done lots of similar pieces of content before, but sometimes it's just a teensy little bit better, and it just breaks through a barrier. Yeah. And it takes you to a point where you can really start to build fans. And I've had the same. I've had one photo where we've gained, in the tens of thousands of followers just from one image. So I think a lot of people sort of want to give up at, early on, because they think I was going nowhere. But it is very much like the curve goes like this, and then whoop, it's like flat. Oh, it's starting to take off, and then bam, off it goes. So, so growth isn't linear, and I think that's something that people have to understand. It goes in spurts depending on like the content you're making. That it is. It's more important. Like, I wouldn't just make content for the sake of just churning something out and then putting out something that you're a bit meh about. Like, it's got to be something that is, that will catch even your attention. And I would suggest that, again, like, do the consciousness thing. Go in, scroll around, have a look around, click about for 10 hours and be like, why did I click on this one? What is it about this image that I love? Why am I into it? Why am I not into it? If you can, observe other people doing it. Like, it's a bit creepy, but like, it would be like, I would love to maybe ask Ian someday if I could watch him scroll and if he could talk me through what he's thinking as he's going through stuff to get an alternative perspective on things, because everybody's feeds are different. Yeah. But the value you can get from that is amazing. But there's already the audience. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, there's nothing wrong with, if you find somebody's content that you like, you just put your own spin on it and put your own artwork in, if they've got something that's working. don't have to reinvent the wheel for this. And I think we might at another stage do another podcast about actual content that's gone well, and
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's another thing to talk about as well, Chris, is like if you're looking at other people's accounts, look for their outlier posts. So look through all their different posts and their tweets or their whatever it is, and look for the ones that have gone really viral, because they will have ones in there. And then look at that. What is it in this? Is it the way that they've done the hashtags? Is it the way that the photo is spectacular? Try to understand. And what if you do that with all your different favorite accounts, and then collate all of these top hitters, the big bangers, as I like to call them, you'll start to see a trend actually, and you'll start to be like, okay, well, this really works. I might give that a go.
Yeah.
So, and I think the other thing that we didn't mention, which is super important, is in order to build a community, you have to talk. You have to talk to people. You have to be in your comments. You have to be replying to your DMs. You have to be responding. It is so important to be, like I can't even stress this. I understand it's a lot of work, and I know that can be a challenge, but ultimately it's better to put less posts up, but to make sure the posts that you've got up, all the DM, like all the comments are responded to, than to spend loads and loads of time just making post after post after post, but not responding to anyone, because ultimately people want to get to know you as well. And I think that's also
what all the hard work's for, isn't it? I think all the hard work is, if somebody has spent that time to send you a message, it's like, that's gold,
Oh yeah, don't ignore that. I feel like there's so much more to say on this topic, like not even scratch the surface. And in particular about the importance of getting your face out there, like getting a video and talk about what you're passionate about. So important.
Maybe another time we'll do one about actual videos and getting your face out there and what's been working.
Yeah. But I hope this has been helpful for everyone so far, and we will continue this topic. Maybe not next week, but we will keep on going with this, because there is a lot more to building communities. And ultimately, if you have a diehard fan base that want to support you, like, it's amazing what you can create as far as a life for yourself, and also the importance of getting your message out there. So, Chris, have you got your top 3 that you want to go through?
First, commitment and consistency. So, we can't do these things. As you were saying there, it's a long-term goal, So you've just got to keep going with it, keep being consistent. Second one is be happy to fail. If it doesn't work, if you're not getting comments, don't worry about it. You may have to revisit what you're doing. That might just be a little red flag to say, okay, this isn't working. Or it might just be a case of just keep on going. Find those ones that are doing well from other people's. If you find someone that resonates, which you go, I feel like they're similar and I can put myself over the way they are, then just take it on board. Another thing which we haven't touched on, which we may include in the last one as well, next one, is it's great getting all these fan bases and numbers on social media, but we don't own them. Anything happens to Facebook and Instagram, then we're gone. It's gone, so collecting emails is so important.
I have a story about this, actually. I got a friend called Astro Tanner, and he got hacked, and he lost 250,000 followers.
Oh my God.
He could never get his account back, had to start from scratch. So like, if that's not a lesson to start moving your followers over to an email list, I don't know what else is.
Yeah. So that's my 3, Kat. What's yours?
I've got top 6 at this point. I'm sorry. There's more as well. It could be a top 20. Anyway, so my top 6 happen to be: a community starts with one person. If you've only got one person, it's still a community. That's just your beginning point. It's okay, but that's where we all start. Number 2 is focus and talk with the one person that you have and build a rapport, and that's how you start your community, right? Focus on giving and being useful. That's my number 2, is that it's not all about take. It's not all about me. It's about sharing your mission. It's about being useful if you can be useful, if your art is useful and it is in some ways. It could be de-stressing for people. It could be giving them joy and hope. And goodness knows everyone needs all of that right now. So focus on those things and giving, so give wallpapers, give little gifts, create something that people want to be involved in. Number 3, talk obsessively and passionately about your mission. The right people will find you. If you just are super passionate about something, the people will stumble across you eventually. That absolutely will happen. The next one, so still going, is about the 10-10 rule. 10 hours of viewing, 10 pieces of content. Do it consciously. Number 5, collaborate. There are people out there with the audience that you want or that you need. Work together. Even if you don't have much, you have something. I've done collaborations with people where, they've got massive accounts, millions, and I might chuck them 10 or $20 to promote some of the stuff I'm doing. Or we've got accounts which similar sizes that we both cross promote. It's amazing what you can create for yourself by doing that. Number 6 is be social. Talk, answer your comments, get in there, have a bit of a joke, have a bit of fun, be the party, whatever it is. It's so important. And I think that it's back to that point where a community is just one person. You talk to one person and build up a rapport, and then you add another person into the loop, and then you add another person in the loop. And by the time you've finished, if you've got 50 to 100 people, they start to talk between themselves. If you give them, and eventually it starts to self-stoke. So it does get to that point eventually. That's my top 6.
Lots of good stuff there, Kat. That's great.
So if you're listening, what challenges are you having with building an audience? If you have any suggestions.
I told New Zealand then.
Oh, new. Oh dear. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, let us know in the comments. Don't forget us to follow us on all the socials. We'll put the links in the descriptions. As always, next week we're talking about how and where you can sell your artwork. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you both next time. I said we see you both next time. What's that?
I'm gonna plug this in. I'm watching my red thing going, your computer's gonna turn off. I'm thinking,
oh no. You know what? My headache's gone and I feel better. So obviously, I just needed this podcast.
Get out of yourself. Yeah. We'll see our 2 audience members next week.
See you both later.
Oh God.
That's funny.
Oh, that's very good. Very good.
All right, you can stop the recording now if you like. And cut.